And now for Power Plant, and I have a lot of things to say about this level. This was not a level that I enjoyed very much as Team Dark. After a certain point, I was just begging for it to end. This is strange because at this Rainbow Ring, like it's a Rainbow Ring on a curving, spiraling, glowy road ahead of you. And I jumped through it just fine, it didn't die. But, well, you're gonna see. At the very least, there is only one switch you need to press in this level, and it raises a tornado point. And there's no emphasis on pull and push switches like with Team Rose. But the frustrating parts of Power Plant are even more frustrating with Team Dark. And there's also stronger enemies to deal with sometimes. I don't know why you can't just jump right over this. Why does there have to be an invisible wall? It makes so much more sense for the Werehog, where it had a wall that went all the way up. And that's the biggest example of how Chaos Control is just so annoying. Freezing time and make you have to wait. It's just irritating in general. Even though Team Rose can never get to the 3 type trials in Mystic Mansion, which is disappointing, there are still voice clips for getting past the speed trial. There's also some comments about a room full of doors and a switch in Mystic Mansion, which doesn't actually exist for Team Rose. These lines appear towards the start of the stage in a room with one door. Team Rose's egg fleet ends before the bullet dodging propeller flight part, but there are clips telling you to move up and down to dodge bullets with Team Rose. Alternate comments exist for when Team Rose is landing on a battleship in a fleet. This is actually the first level where I finally figured out that I could homing attack onto tornado poles, but seriously, those turtle shell enemies, they gave me a lot of trouble in this level. There's a lot of times where they're cheaply placed. They wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that they can shoot projectiles outwards. And they're often on high platforms overlooking you from below, so they're guaranteed to hit you. We're coming up to one of the 2 beat-em-up elevator sections in the level. They actually aren't that bad, because they just have you fight enemies that are flying that you need to thundershoot. They don't have giant health bars or anything. The problem is that, again, the physics here are very wonky. You don't jump very high at all. And, of course, if you freeze time by using Team Blast, then the elevator stops moving up. Like, you can constantly jump through the dash rings to launch yourself upwards, but you don't know where you're going to be launched up to. You might, for all you know, you're going to be launched up to an enemy. That doesn't happen, but there's a problem with the fixed camera here. I don't think there even were any enemies in that section. So what was the point of it? You're just sitting around. I mean, I guess you were expected to go through those dash rings. Like, look at this. I had no problem with this at the beginning, but here. And Shadow's line is so appropriate. I clearly landed on that glowy road. I landed on exactly the spot where I landed at the beginning of the level and was able to get through it just fine. So, yeah, and guess what? I died to that on the second time that I played this too. So yeah, that's the definition of cheap. I swear it comes off as a glitch because of terrible collision detection. You should not land on a glowy road after going through a rainbow ring, and the rainbow ring kills you. And this, why are there so many fireballs just randomly scattered everywhere? They're just there to make you arbitrarily just awkwardly try to jump around and avoid them on glowy roads, which are by definition speed sections. And again, lots of waiting around. This is bullshit. See? It wouldn't be so bad if these things weren't projectile shooting. Like, there's so many of them, like, clustered all over the place and overlooking, they're from a higher area and you're going up to them. So you're guaranteed to get hit by them. When Shadow gets hit, it kind of sounds like he says the word puke. And I was agreeing with that and finding it very cathartic because of just how irritating it was, constantly getting hit over and over again in this level. This is a level that dragged out for me. Like, when Rouge said when getting a Team Blast anytime now, I was agreeing with her. Because I was desperate for the level to end. And again, this doesn't seem to be that different level design from Team Rose. Like, I recognize that cage. And I recognize this area from Team Rose too, although without the dash circles that you would launch upwards in. But yeah, this is where the Go Ring would have been with Team Rose. And another one of these. And with fire everywhere. They're incorrect. They're unused, incorrect comments explaining that the Final Fortress lasers fire at the rail the same color, even though each rail is the same color in the final game. There's also more accurate unused comments about the rails lighting up. Well, I don't remember any rails lighting up in this game. There's also a section in Final Fortress where some large robots gather up, which is the hardest non-boss fight. There's a hint orb nearby suggesting Team Blast. Team Rose's level ends before this, but still has lines for it, which are exactly what you'd expect. There's some clips for Charmy being alone in Rail Canyon, even though he never is alone in Rail Canyon. There's also cut lines Team Rose was meant to say after being shot by the second cannon, but that second cannon isn't even loaded in their bullet station. Amy's voice clip is empty, with a hidden subtitle file. When Amy and Espio were given their own unique tornado attacks in development, the original tornado attacks were scrapped, and the two colors for them were put out of use. Amy's tornado, as you'd expect, was pink, and Espio's was green? I mean, I guess it makes sense because it is technically called the Leaf Tornado. But Espio's purple, and normally the tornadoes are the same color as the character. Well, I'm looking at like that's a black tornado right there, which is weird because he, for some reason, Shadow creates a yellow trail behind him, even in SA2, which is weird because he's not black. He's black and red. He's not yellow. So why is he creating that yellow trail? Is it chaos energy? This rising lava section was even more tense as Team Dark. Like, obviously when the floor's like that, it's about to get destroyed. I kept panicking trying to grab onto the hangar and it just wouldn't let me do it. They should not expect you to grab onto such a tiny hangar with this kind of camera angle. How are you supposed to see? Thankfully it's not instant kill. And thankfully, even more, it doesn't seem to be mandatory to defeat all the enemies. Or maybe it was. Maybe the Team Blast is what saved me. But yeah, just about everything that was annoying for this level for Team Sonic was even more annoying for Team Dark. And crazily enough, I actually liked the pinball levels of Team Dark more than this. Probably because of the less emphasis on combat for those levels. Meaning it dragged out less. There are unused firework models for the casino levels, come to think of it. And casino and colored powder objects that would have been omitted from the mushrooms in this game. Strangely, the PC version is padded with duplicate texture files, which is weird because, again, there's file data limitations. The silver swirl warp effect that was going to be used in one of the warp objects went unused. Unlike the other two warp effects, this one rapidly permeates on the screen and quickly teleports the player to another position. Why are they just assuming that? Is it because of the way they look? So basically, we have a character battle that only exists because of the two teams judging each other by the way they look. Wonderful! And if Rouge was the type to do that, then why is she being friends with Omega instead of going, oh, it's a killer robot, we should just be destroying him? Because that's gotta be the explanation for why she didn't just have Omega destroyed. Unless she thought he was too powerful for even Shadow to destroy. But it's like, there's no reason for them to get into this fight. Like, Rouge is just portrayed as an out-of-character bitch here. Why does she... Like, it's outright cringeworthy for me to hear her be so unnecessarily rude and bitchy in this cutscene. Because what did Team Chaotix ever do to her? How could she possibly not know about them? And this is a stark contrast from like, another team, like Team Chaotix after the fight with I was about to say Team Amy. This isn't Sonic Chronicles. Like, Team Chaotix knew that they were in the wrong. It was kind of weird seeing Shadow say Cool City, because it really doesn't feel like that's something he would say. I mean, he's technically 50 years old. He came from 50 years ago. So wouldn't it make more sense for him to use more old-fashioned slang? Not to mention the fact that he has more of a grumpy personality. So it doesn't really make sense that he would say Cool City. I guess cool is becoming out of... Like, if it's not considered cool to say cool, then maybe cool as a word is falling out of style? Because I just can't imagine Shadow really saying that. And I like how Rouge said, "You're too serious, Omega." Because again, that's a good establishing character moment for her. Did I just see Rouge homing attack into an enemy? Anyways, while I hate the pinball, at the very least, there aren't as many enemies that I'm forced to fight. Although there are enemies that are placed right in front of dash pads, just like with Ocean Palace. Like, this is another level that goes on for too long with Team Dark, but at least it's not as much of a slog as Power Plant was to me. Which is weird because I was dreading these two levels. For the Magician / Bishop robot that appears in castle levels, yeah, Bishop robot in a Sonic game. There are material opcodes in the PC version which render the robot transparent with additive alpha blending that was never used by any of the enemy's techniques. This implies that that robot was actually going to turn invisible at some point. So, did it do that by copying Espio's ability? Well, the robots of Eggman would have been a lot more threatening if they could copy people's ability just like Metal Sonic did. So why did Eggman give Metal Sonic a copy ability again? Seriously, why? I mean, he's already better than Sonic when it comes to physical abilities. Well, when you count the amount of abilities that Sonic has in the games, it actually adds up to over 100. But still, like, Metal Sonic can fly, and he can shoot lasers, and he can surround himself with fire in a V-Maximum Overdrive attack. Why would Eggman give him a copy ability to begin with? And what I was trying to say in the previous part was that Metal Sonic was getting his ass kicked by Sonic a lot more in the classic era. Because there you fought him a lot more. You fought him in Sonic Triple Trouble and in Sonic the Fighters. Not to mention, he also raced them in the Drift games. Although I don't consider them to be canon because their plot makes no sense. Like, why would Eggman be racing Sonic? But yeah, why didn't Metal Sonic go all rogue and become the main villain back in the classic era? Because he hadn't fought Sonic for a very long time until Sonic Heroes came around. Unless you count Sonic Pinball Party, which was released pretty soon before Sonic Heroes. Because in Sonic Pinball Party, Metal Sonic fought Sonic in pinball. Imagine how embarrassing that must have been. Finally, I'm going to fight Sonic again and prove my worth! Wait, what? I'm supposed to... pinball? And imagine how much more humiliating it would have been losing to him, and even that. Maybe that's what broke him. Maybe losing to him and even pinball of all things was why he ended up becoming the villain of this game. Because he spent such a long time wanting to fight Sonic again, and when he finally got the chance to, it wasn't even a fight. It was just pinball, which maybe indicated to him that Eggman had lost all faith in his ability to fight Sonic. I mean, he hasn't fought him in past the classic era at all. Like, unless you count the Rivals games, and even then, he doesn't fight him when he's under Eggman's control in Rivals 2, and in Rivals 1, he's under Eggman Nega's control, and then he just races them. He never actually fights Sonic. That's a big problem with the Rivals games that I want to talk about, is that Metal Sonic talks in this game, and he talks in Sonic Pinball Party, and he talks as his classic self in Sonic Generations, proving that he was able to talk even without being in his upgraded Neo Metal form. And yet, the Rivals games try to pretend that Metal Sonic can't talk anymore, and so do the Sonic Runners games, which have dialogue in them, and so do the Sonic Free Riders, where Metal Sonic becomes the main villain. So why the hell are they trying to pretend that Metal Sonic suddenly can't talk? They strip him of all personality after this game. Some people try to claim that he gets a lobotomy. It just doesn't make any sense to me that Eggman would make a robot based off Sonic less intelligent to the point where he literally speaks. He doesn't even really speak. He's like, primary objective, this, and stuff like that, like stereotypical robot speech in the Rivals games. To the point where you wonder if he's really speaking or if it's just him, like, if it's just a text box showing what he actually sees, the words on him. It's just really stupid, doesn't really make any sense. They just downgrade Metal Sonic's intelligence. I guess it makes sense, because apparently that's the only way you can trust him to be loyal, but it just seems depressing, that's all.
I am Omega, the ultimate E-Series robot.